Welcome to the Den of Tools.
Howdy ho, guys and gals, it's Red, your friendly neighborhood tool bear, back again here in the Den of Tools. And today we're going to talk about the top 5 or so tools that I would never buy used. And we're going to talk about why and all that kind of stuff. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate on this, but just give me a moment. Let me explain my rationale on this. And then you can comment down below and whether you agree or disagree or whatnot, and maybe add some of your own as well. And then also I got a couple bonuses at the end of stuff I would buy. I would definitely look at for used kind of stuff, because we're always looking for the thrifty kind of options here on the Den of Tools. So first thing I want to talk about, and boy, I know a lot of you are going to be upset about this one, cordless power tools. That's a big skip for me. I don't see any reason why I'm going to go down the road looking to buy used cordless power tools. And let's talk about why. Now, you go out there and you go on any Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or any of these places, and maybe if you're buying them from your buddy or something, there's always going to be some exceptions. Somebody's going to find well, actually, if I do, blah, blah. Yeah, I get it. There's always someone's always special. I know your mom told you were. There's always some special excuse why it's okay when you do it. That's fine. That's all for you. But let's talk about this realistically. When you go out there and you look at these, there's all sorts of things you're going to run into. You know, here's some brand new-ish looking Hiltis for $300. $100 Milwaukee tools. Yeah, that couldn't possibly be a scam, could it? Look at this. Here we got some Milwaukee M12 stuff. Oh, wait, no, it's generic Garden Joy. Yeah, I'm definitely going to buy that. There's all sorts of things you're going to run into. And the number one thing that I find that I run into when I used to do this, and I used to look for used power tools, is first off, a lot of them are stolen. If it's too good to be true, it's either a scam or it's stolen. Sometimes it's both. I don't know. But I'm not going to support the theft economy, especially with what's going on these days. People just walking out and driving up the price for the rest of us who pay for the tools. Now, I want nothing to do with them. I want nothing to do with the people who buy them. I'll be entirely honest. You can call me a judgmental bear. It's not going to ruffle my fur in the least bit. You're the one buying stolen tools. All right. The other thing is, you're going to get a lot of people selling you stuff as, oh yeah, I bought it. I love this one. I bought it. I just can't return it for some reason. I lost the receipt, or I bought 2 of them and I'm not going to keep one of them. Why aren't you taking the other one back? Well, I don't know. It's guys like this. They're buying off these liquidator kind of things. They're buying pallets of returned, often broken items that were back in the packaging that they bought in a bundle, and they're trying to offload their problems onto you. You want nothing to do with these products. All right, how about this? You got the guys, you're like, I paid $80 for this bag. I don't care, Gramps. Okay, I'm teasing. I'm an older bear myself. What can I say? I remember when these came out, but a lot of times I'll see people selling old power tools, or they're selling just completely thrashed power tools, or they're selling old thrashed power tools. I don't want anything to do with these. Especially, on the Den of Tools here, we're constantly finding deals for you. Are you subscribed to the Monday Deals of the Week video? We're constantly finding great deals. Why would you skip buying one of these great new deals that we find every week so you could buy something like this? And then on top of that, you got to think about the batteries. And this is the biggest issue when it comes to cordless. These batteries only can be recharged X amount of times. Now, that's usually between 100 and 300 times, depending on the quality of the cells they use, depending on how well it was used, how kind of conditioning, was it overheated, was it used in extreme cold? Did they just charge it a little bit and then use it and run it dead? And there's all sorts of stuff to do. And then when you're buying these tools and you got the battery and you're like, I don't know, you got to ask yourself, did he recharge them 300 times or only 29? You got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? Seriously, you can't see inside these batteries, and you're just rolling the bones hoping that there's a few more charges left in there, and you might just maybe get your money's worth out of them. All right, next up, I know we're going to get even more hate on this, table saws. Now, hold on here. Let's look at what a current table saw. This is like what I consider like the best, your go-to choice. If you're going to go out and buy a DIYer saw, this one is the one they're launching right now. It's the new one that we talked about the other day. It's coming in rigid colors. Of course, it's made by somebody else. $650 is what this thing's going to land at, and that's the full list price at launch. It might settle down lower. It's going to go on sale at some point. This is a fantastic saw. It's got a great T-square style fence. It's got a good setup on it. I love this saw for the DIYer, weekend wear, the guy who's, semi-serious about woodworking, stuff like that. It's a fantastic saw. Every saw's got their problems, don't get me wrong. But for the money, you're not going to come close to this saw unless you're spending twice as much. Now, I did a series 4 years ago. I did a series of the best table saw for your money, a 4-part series talking about buying used table saws, where I totally encourage people, don't buy new, go out and buy used, because you can get some fantastic deals out there. Well, guess what? The market has changed and people have lost their mind. $150 for riving. Look at this thing. Oh my gosh. $150 for that thing. I can buy that new for that price with a stand. And it more than likely will not cut all my digits off. We got the Cobalt portable for $275. $275 was the sale price on this thing. Or I think it might have been the list price on this when it was new. They've come out with a new model. They've updated a bunch of stuff. It does look clean, does look barely used, but why would I pay $275 for something that is clearly out of date, probably doesn't have any warranty left on it, and rather than just buying the new one when it goes on sale? Well, how about this? This is a Dewalt Contractor Saw, a guy built into a workbench. Now, if he'd sold this earlier this year, he probably could have gotten 10 or 20 grand just for the wood. But wood prices are dropping. They're back down to 2018 prices. And you're not going to get that kind of price out of this. It's a decent bench, but I mean, looking at this thing, there's nothing just, to blow you away. The comparable saw right now is $400. Is there $400 of wood in there? I mean, labor, make it yourself. Buy a saw, make it yourself at that point. If it fits exactly what you need, if you're the person who needs exactly that and you just want to get started, yeah, $775. Good grief. How about this thing? This is a jet table saw with goodies for $800. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan bearer of jet table saws. In fact, if you watch my 4-part series, you will find a table saw in there that I refurbished. Now, granted, mine was a much more robust version of this. Steel wings, sliding table, true T-square style fence, everything on it. They've got an upgraded fence. They've got an upgraded miter gauge. They got a bunch of other stuff. But this is not a cabinet saw, all right? This is a contractor saw. That motor is mounted to the bottom side of that table. It's got stamped steel wings. It's got little, strut kind of legs. It's not an enclosed cabinet. It's just, there's a lot of things. I mean, for $800, I want more of a saw, and rather than a really old saw that you don't know how hard it's been used, how much life is left in that motor. And there's a lot of things that with saws you gotta ask yourself. How about this? Craftsman Table Saw. Now, Craftsman made a decent table saw, and this was, when it came out, not a bad saw. And look, it's got the cast iron wings. Now, they're open. They're the mesh kind of style. They're not solid, but it's a cast iron wing, cast iron top. But that fence is absolutely terrible. The saw clearly needs work to get restored. Who knows what's going on underneath? There's a lot of things you got. How much more money are you going to put into this saw? $150. This is down in East Texas. I jumped around trying to find different areas and stuff. And that van, I don't know if van is an area or he's selling it out of the back of his van. I don't know. You tell me if you're from East Texas. But you got to look at the trunnions. Like, look at this saw underneath. That's a broken trunnion that somebody fixed with, looks like JB weld. All right. How about this? This saw right here. A lot of people see this saw and think it's fantastic. It looks great. It looks like it's barely used. Well, Rigid had a problem with these saws when they came out. The way they were shipped, they didn't lock the trunnions, the motor mounts, and it would bounce in shipping, bending the trunnions and the mounts on many of these saws to the point where, yeah, you could get it up and you could get it straight, but if you moved it, the blade would fall out of alignment and you'd have all sorts of problems. Got to be careful when you look at these saws. And there's a lot of other saws, they all had different problems and stuff. You got to know what you're looking for when you're buying a used table saw. If you're not an expert in this, you got to think about that. And if you think about the price like that, used Craftsman, well, I can get a new fence. Here's a new fence, $208. $208. Well, now you're at $350. You had some new belts, some, new parts, plus the time to refurbish it. How far are you from getting just a new saw with a warranty and all the latest, safety equipment? I'm not buying a saw these days that does not come with a riving knife. You can argue about blade guards and, saw stop technology and all that stuff. Yeah, that stuff's nice. A riving knife is a do not pass go kind of thing. It's a deal breaker. Now, yes, you can get these little kerf splitter kind of things to do to your saw and kind of make it work. But the reality is, if you're cutting plywood, that's great. If that's all you're doing is cutting plywood, you'll probably be fine. Now, what if you're cutting 4-inch, 6-inch thick hardwoods that they've got a lot of internal twists and binding and stuff? I'm not trusting my life or my limbs to those little plastic tabs on something like that. No, just it's not happening. All right, next up, air compressors are a big pass when it comes to used stuff. I know a lot of people, one of the biggest questions I get is, Bear, I got this used air compressor. What do I need to refurbish it or something like this? And I'm like, how old is it? Where did you get it from? Why are you even considering this? I get it, free tools. It's hard to say no to free tools or even cheap used tools. But sometimes, I mean, look at used, $160. That's an old Harbor Freight. Look at that thing. That has been rode hard and put away wet, clearly. This thing, we got a 1.5 horsepower air compressor, $200, $200 for this vintage air compressor here, the Airmate by Imglo. How about this? We've got a Coplamatic air compressor for only $375. I'm sure that's a beast of a motor on there. But the one thing you got to think about is these tanks. All right. The tank on an air compressor after every use, because of the physics involved with air and moisture, unless you got a dryer, and even then with a dryer, you should be doing it every so often, you need to empty that tank and get all that moisture out there and out of it and let it dry out. If you don't do that, you're going to get corrosion and rust inside your tank. And that's a bad thing because these things are under pressure. You know what that means? It's a bomb. and these things can and do explode. What about this? This is a spot weld for the motor mount on one of these compressors, for the pump mount on this compressor. Why did it break? What caused it? Was it dropped? What happened to cause this thing to break? And then what about this weld? Well, it looks like a decent little weld there. How much heat did they put into that metal? What kind of, what did that do to the brittleness of the metal? What kind of stress fractures are now in that metal because of the amount of heat you poured into that? This thing is meant to have some expansion to it. Did you just ruin its ability to expand? Look at that. That's what happens with a corroded tank. It exploded. This, a non-corroded tank, still boom, baby. And if you think an air compressor is just going to pop like an air balloon and everything is going to be fine, this is the kind of damage that an air compressor can cause. And you think, oh, it's just air. Yeah, there might be some flying bits of steel, but it probably won't be all that much damage. It's not like it's going to catch on fire, right? Tell that to this guy. Exploded in his house, blew a gas line. I think it was to the water heater. Caught most of his house on fire. Oh, in his car. Don't worry. I'm sure that will buff right out. All because, you didn't pay attention to your air compressor. It's just not worth it. And if you've got a bad tank, either buy a new air compressor or get a new tank. You can take the motor pump assembly off and put it on a new tank. You can buy all sorts of tanks, all sorts of beautiful colors. Be safe, be smart. There's no reason to risk it. Next up on the hate list that I'm going to get is generators. I'm sorry, but it's just not really worth it for most people to buy a used generator. It's like buying a used car. If you aren't, if you're not great at small engine repair and electronics diagnosis, then you probably shouldn't be looking at used generators. There's also, look at this. Okay, we go on Craigslist. This guy's selling a brand new secondhand generator for $550. Oh, wait, I can buy the same thing for $534 on Amazon. Don't even get me started on this thing. I don't even know what this is. An MITM, a medium? That's supposed to a large. I don't know what this thing is, $825. But let's talk about the actual used ones. Here's a Honda for $900. That's not a bad deal. It says it works great. Of course, like he's going to say, oh, it's got all sorts of little problems I'm going to tell you about. No, it says it works great. I mean, it's a Honda. How bad could it get? It could get bad. Even Hondas can go bad. Here's another Honda, $800. This is $800. People talk about, I don't want to buy from Harbor Freight because they only have a 90-day warranty. I wonder what his warranty is for that $800 generator there, that used Honda there. And this is the thing is, yeah, these Honda generators, they make some great generators. They're fantastic. They're not cheap. So getting one used might seem like a great deal on this, but there's so many things with these generators that can go wrong. this wasn't your generator that you've babied and you've used for years. You don't know where this came from, how it was used. Was it left out in the rain? Did somebody, just throw it outside and let the elements at it? Was it put on the back of a camper and dragged tens, if not hundreds of thousand miles back and forth, across the United States through all sorts of climates? Worse, did they mount it on the front? What kind of monster does this? Look at this. You're putting this on the front of your camper. I mean, at least your propane tanks, you at least cover it with this nice bag. The bottom of your camper's got the diamond plate, but the generator, oh, screw that thing. We're putting him up high right in front. He can catch all the gravel and road grit and bugs and rain and everything. He's going to eat it all up. Seriously, who thought this was a good idea? And what about overheating? Now, okay, yeah, I'm exaggerating here. But the fact of the matter is, if it gets too hot, I mean, not just the motor, but the coils on the electrical side, that overheating those coils can damage them, causing the stator to, get corroded, all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of things that if you are not an expert on this stuff, I mean, are you going to carry a load generator diagnostic equipment with you? How are you going to test this thing when you get there to make sure it's going to do what it says it's going to do? Is it really worth it? And again, we're seeing all sorts of sales all the time on these generators. Why would you risk it on something like that? And lastly, the stuff I'm going to say, just avoid extension cords. I see guys buying, used extension cords at garage sales and stuff all the time, and I just roll my eyes. I'm like, why would you even bother? There's so many things that can go wrong with an extension cord. People running, big items, heavy duty, items over a long distance, causing overheat, fray. Who knows how it got wrapped, that kind of stuff. $70 for this 100-foot extension cord, 50-foot. Look at that thing. That was definitely treated well. This thing's been outside and exposed to so much, it's changed color on different parts of it. For $20 for a 25-foot extension cord. And have this $8. Ooh, there's a deal. $8 for a heavy-duty extension cord. Has no other information about it. Guys and gals, just because it's orange doesn't mean it's heavy-duty at all. There's plenty of light-duty extension cords out there that are orange. You can find them all over the place. And at $8, why would you buy a used one? Seriously, as I said, if you're not a member of the channel here, if you're not a subscriber, every Monday we do deals of the week, and I constantly try to find extension cord deals because I know you all like them. They're always getting snapped up. Here's one that we just showed last week. Utilitech 100-foot extension cord there. This is a light duty one, normally $30. It's on sale for $12 in 11% of Lowe's stores. We find deals. If you're a member, if you're a subscriber and you follow the deals of the week, comment down below and let people know how often we have these extension cord deals up there. I try to find them all the time and post them there. And then also over, of course, on the Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group or the MeWe page or the Reddit group, we're constantly trying to find those deals and post them out there for everyone to find. And extension cords are one of the core deals we try to share because let's be honest, we always need more extension cords. It's just the way it goes. And lastly, what about, or I guess not lastly, but let's talk about hand tools here. Hand tools are a big one when it comes to buying used stuff because hand tools, you can see what you're getting. It's right there. And then on top of that, many of these, in fact, these days, most brands have lifetime warranties. You can find some fantastic deals. $70. This is around up here in Montana, Missoula, $70. If you're really looking for, if you look for those light blue or the teal as they fade, you can find the channel lock pliers. Those are some great things. Look at this. We got some, these look like some blacksmith tongs kind of stuff over here. But this thing over here, what is this? Why is it, it rotates. Oh no, he rotates the picture. What are these locking pliers? I don't know if you can zoom in and see this. I've never seen those before. If I haven't forgotten about them, but that's an interesting look right there. Now, as far as the ratchets over here, I don't know. Those could either be SK ratchets or they could be a cheap knockoff. Hard to tell, with a picture with this kind of resolution, but there's all sorts of great stuff you can find. Here we are on eBay. Perfect handle screwdrivers, 23 pre-owned for $34. We got Matco for $45, SK for $40s. Look at this. We got some Klein nut drivers there for $30. Here we got vintage 10-piece Kleins for $20. Look at this. All sorts of fantastic stuff you can find used. And, of course, you can also find them on Facebook Marketplace. That's another great place to shop for, used tools. Stuff like this. You can, again, find great assortments when it comes to hand tools. There's some Kleins right there. All sorts of stuff. We got some Icons. That's the Harbor Freight top line over there. And remember, lifetime warranty on these, and they're not going to ask for a receipt on stuff like that. There's all sorts of great stuff that you can find. Next up, I keep trying to say lastly. Next up, we've got corded power tools. That's another one that you should really take a look at when it comes to buying used stuff. This stuff I would buy. The skill power tools. Look at these. We got 2 skill saws. We got some Black & Deckers here. We got a jigsaw, a sander, and a drill. $7 each. $7. I'd pay $7 for one of these skill saws. Of course, I love restoring old tools and old power tools. That's one of the things I do more than probably anything else. I love fixing those things up and giving them away and whatnot. But you get 2 for $10. You know, I bet you get all of them for 15 or 20 bucks. Here we got some Makitas. We got Makita saws. We got Makita sanders. We got some Porter Cable sanders. Porter Cable made some decent sanders. We got some nailers and whatnot. How did I skip over to that? We got a miter saw there. How about this? We got recip saws over here on eBay. Look at these. We got some Ryobis. We got a Bosch pre-owned for $28. Oh, that's got to be, how can you run $39 on this Milwaukee Super Sawzall? $39. There's all sorts of deals you can find. Some of them great, some of them not so great. You gotta get an eye. One thing, if you're buying used tools, you gotta educate yourself so you know what you're looking for, and you know what's a good deal, and you know what isn't. Next up, we're talking. I keep going with saber saws. Next up, we're talking scroll saws. Now, scroll saws are one of these tools. It's a benchtop tool that sometimes, you know what? There's a lot of guys who don't need it. Sometimes you do need it. I find them excellent. Yeah, even if you're not doing detail work, I find them excellent for making some of those little detail cuts in a bigger piece that maybe be harder to do, and you can just do faster rather than trying to find a small hacksaw or something like that. You know, you got the central machinery here, this Harbor Freight for $110, setting the low bar on it here. That's about the cheapest new one you can buy. Of course, I've had this one. It'll shake itself to death if you don't nail it down. I will say I do like the hammered paint finish, but you know, I like that kind of retro look. But that said, check this out. Dremel Scroll Saw, $20. Look at that thing, $20. The world's safest jigsaw. That's good to know. Check this thing out. Craftsman, vintage Craftsman with the stand and the motor. Yeah, it needs a little TLC. It's $35, guys and gals, $35. That's got a real cast iron top on it. This is a nice piece of machinery that'll last as long as you do. You want to talk about heavy duty? Look at this thing. Look at this. A Dunlap Scroll Saw, 18-inch on a mobile stand. He's basically refurbished it. Look at that table. That table looks good. Look at that thing. That's a good setup. Look at that nice little wood stand there he's built for it. This is, how much? $50. Really? $50? You can't buy that thing for $50? You know you want it. This one's a little, $50 on this. It's a standalone. There's no motor. You have to provide your own motor for it and stuff. But this is just an adorable little saw here. Powercraft. I think was a Montgomery Ward. There it is. Montgomery Ward saw there. But look at that. That is a gorgeous little saw there. I would, if you're doing some detail work, that kind of stuff, maybe, I'd like to have that on my bench. That's a great little saw there. Here's that Craftsman. It's like the other one there. $50. Again, you're going to need a motor, and you're going to have to get the belt and everything else. But for a base saw for $50, once you find a motor and you get a base and stuff, you're going to be right at that price there, probably with the Harbor Freight one. You're going to have a much better saw than that. Check out this thing. We're stepping up a bit here, okay? We're 125 versus what, 110 for the Harbor Freight, 125 for this Craftsman, 24-inch deep throat on this, 16-inch square table. This thing is fantastic. And if we really want to shoot for the moon on this, check this out, $200. All right, come on. Don't lie to the bear. I can tell when you're lying. You all want this in your shop. Look at the table on this. This thing is an absolute unit. Look at that. You want it. You know you want it. I want it. If somebody's in the Inland Empire and they want to run this up to Montana, I'll pay you $50 for driving it up here. I really will. 26-inch scroll saw for $200. That is an industrial piece there. That is the steal of the day. I would buy that in a heartbeat. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So anyway, that's some of the units. I wanted to throw in some of the ones I would buy because I hate being just completely negative. But yeah, when it comes to cordless power tools, when it comes to generators and air compressors And, table saws, I used to be big on the table saw thing. Buying used table saws used to be a great deal. And maybe the market will come around. Maybe prices will drop. People will get their heads on straight. What we really need is we need more and better new choices to drive the used market down is what we need to see happen. All right. So be smart, get educated, and compare the price like, hey, if I'm only saving 10% or even sometimes 20%, is it really worth giving up newer safety features, just general safety and convenience, having a warranty, or the ability to not spend, hours and hours of my time, stalking Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, so I can just go out and have the tool I need today rather than waiting 3 to 6 months to find a sort of deal on something that we'll just kind of do. Anyway, that's all the bear has for you today. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments while you're down there. Don't forget to chomp the old like button, smash that subscribe, ring the bell on your way out. You all take care. God bless. And as always, shine on.